Hi, everybody. We're here today with the fabulous Haylie Ferreira, who is actually now a show skater. And long ago, I actually got to work with Haylie a little bit, so I'm very partial to her. So, Miss Haylie, thank you so much for joining us today. Will
Thank you so
you
much for
tell
having
us
me.
a little bit about when you started skating and why?
I started skating when I was almost 10 years old because my family went on vacation in Lake Tahoe and we got to go skate up a mountain. And I just really liked it and got skates and started lessons and haven't looked back.
Very cool. Now, what got you interested in show skating? Was it like when you first started, you're like, I want to be a show skater, or was that something that progressed?
My first coach was a show skater, and so I kind of learned a little bit of stuff about that from her. And I never really liked competing, like technical programs. They just like weren't my thing. But I really was partial to showcase skating. I just like to be able to entertain. I've done theater since before I started skating, so it all just kind of blended into that.
Nice. Nice. So tell us about your first tour. First of all, how did you find out, like, how did you get started into show skating?
I would go to this place in Sun Valley, Idaho, where I would take lessons from like the skaters there that are show skaters, and they have a very beautiful show there. And I got to audition in front of a bunch of producers live with pro skaters over there. And then you learn how to, they kind of teach you how to send in all of your things and take your resume to the next level to get you picked out from the rest of the group and all that.
Fabulous. And so now, once you started that, your first show, that was pretty exciting to get, right? So tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that one.
My first show, it was a stationary show at a theme park in California, and that was so much fun. You come in and the shows are like a half hour long, and you do them a couple times a day. And between the shows, sometimes you get to go ride the roller coasters, so that's really fun.
So there's perks to being a show skater
Of
sometimes.
course.
Sometimes it's not as much fun though. Um, so you were a show skater during COVID and all that. So how did that affect everything for you? Because that kind of changed everything, right?
Yeah, fortunately, I was at home when that whole thing happened. I was between contracts between the Christmas and the spring, and so I did lose a contract that summer though that I was supposed to be signed on to, and then after that, I just kind of didn't really know what to do. We didn't really get to skate for like a year. It was crazy, but then slowly getting back into it and getting back out into the world.
Nice. So out of all the shows you've done, what experience probably has been your favorite one?
The shows kind of all end up, after a while, it's like performing and stuff. It's so much fun, and it all kind of blends together. But it's really the people that you meet while you're on these contracts. You get so close to them in the short amount of times that you know each other, and then you like go your separate ways around the world. But sometimes you get to meet up again. It's like, oh hey, I'll be here. I'll be here. And that's probably the best part is like be able to make friends all over the world.
Nice. So you've been a lot of different places, right? I mean, you've toured on buses, you've flown to different places, you've gone to Germany. Tell us a little bit about your Germany tour.
I went to work at a theme park in Germany, and so I flew there and I stayed there for 3 months while we did the show there, and that was really cool to be able to experience a show over in Europe, and I'd love to experience more of those.
That's very fun. And you had some downtime, so were you able to see a little bit of Europe, or was it just
Yeah,
basically?
a little bit. And I had like a week off, which doesn't normally happen after rehearsals. So I took that time to like fly over to England and see my brother, and so that was kind of cool. I got to go see that too.
Fun? It's always nice when you get to experience a little bit of the world while you're supposed to be working. So, but what is something that you wish someone would have told you when you were starting, like, before you started show skating, pros, cons, anything, any little bit of advice that you wish you're like, I know this now, but I really wish I would have known going in?
I would say just don't worry too much about it, about what specific contract you're on or who's doing what, because a lot of times things can get kind of weird in that sense where like, oh, somebody's going to this show, so and so's going to this show, and like none of them are like, as long as you're working and doing the shows and having fun doing your own thing, then that's what's important there.
Good advice. So I know you did a lot of synchro as a kid. Do you feel like that helped you?
Absolutely. And shows we're like constantly guiding and blocks and lines and pinwheels and circles and all that. So it's really important to have uh those skills to be able to skate with other people. It's not always easiest when just 100% single skater will come in and try to be the single skater in when you're
Mm,
supposed to be a whole group of skaters.
that makes sense. Yeah. And you do some like pairs work with the last couple shows that you've done and this show, correct? So did you have to like take lessons before you started it, or was it something you started after you were already on the show?
I started adagio lessons before I started shows, but after I finished competing, I was like 19, 20, kind of right before I was going to shows. I was like, oh, I want to learn some pairs, and then pair or every show I've learned a little bit more, and then eventually got to be principal pair team for my last show.
Which is very exciting. That was your first time being the principal, right?
Yeah,
Very exciting.
yeah.
So, who are your ice inspirations? What kind of people have you watched growing up or now that you're like, oh, I really like them. I really learned something from them or want to be more like them?
I've always looked at like the greatest show skaters like Brian Boitano and Kurt Browning, like for their footwork and their showmanship and just how they present themselves. Jason Brown is a wonderful one, like of our current day to watch, how he just incorporates the artistry into his technical programs, like so inspiring.
One of the things I love about the show skating is, like you said, yes, there's the technical aspect still, but you get to expound on that and it really grows. And I love that artistic side and it brings
Yeah.
out more personality in the skaters, which I really love.
Mhm.
So you're a theatrical before skating. Obviously, that's helped you. Do you feel like this is like it's grown into this, or do you feel like they're separate things?
I feel like they've definitely blended themselves together through my life.
Yeah, right. And you're doing some off the ice camera work too, right? With some different
Yeah.
modeling and like that.
Yeah, I've been doing some acting and modeling work like at home between contracts and things because I just really like to perform. I really like to be in front of the camera. So,
That's a definite plus when you're a show skater. You kind of need that. You like to perform. You can't be a very shy person, can you?
right.
Now, do you like being a princess? Do you like being the costume where you're, I don't know, a frog or a snowman or something like that?
The costumes, it's always like so much fun when you get like a really pretty, like showgirly. You're like, ooh, look at me, showgirl. But I actually think the most fun costumes are like the big fur costumes when you're a big character and you have to go out and like move your arms so much and just skate around like, ooh.
Now, some of those must be hard to skate in, right? What are some of the challenges in some of those costumes?
The challenges I'd say would be the head and the feet
Mhm.
because sometimes the feet are a little weird. Some of the gaiters make your skates just like really wide, so you kind of have to walk with a wider stance than you normally would. You can't really do like crossovers or anything. It's all snowplow stops and stuff.
Sure.
And then the heads really depend on the visibility of like where you're looking and how much you can see based on their like eyes and nose.
Nice. Your schedule is all crazy when you're on a show, then totally. Now, typically, do you do one show a day, two shows? How does that? Is every show different?
It depends on the contract. It can be like I've done 1 to 3 or 4 a day depending on um if you have like a shorter show at a theme park, they'll usually run more of them versus like touring shows where they're longer and stuff. They will only have like 2 or 3 a day, but yeah.
And I know a while ago we talked about like synthetic ice versus real ice. Typically, you're on real ice, correct?
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to deal with synthetic ice. How does that compare for you?
The synthetic ice feels way different than the real ice. You kind of have to change your skating style a little bit, but I feel like anyone who can adapt from like figure skating to like rollerblades to pick skates to like, you know, it's kind of just a different technique with everything that you do, just like a little bit.
No,
You can check out my Instagram page at Haylie Skater and see what all I'm doing on there.
very good. And we will definitely share some of that with everybody and
Perfect.
a link to it. So, well, thank you for taking time with us, Haley, and happy skating. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the box. I love all the goodies.
Oh, wonderful. It looks beautiful on you. I love it.
Thank you.
Right.
So tell me about like the day of the show. How do you get yourself ready? How do you kind of psych yourself up, stretching, anything like that?
So usually the show's not till like later in the day, so I'll take like a slow morning. I'll get up and have my coffee, either take like an Epsom salt bath or try to hit the hot tub if I can, do some stretches, start getting my makeup on, skincare routine, just kind of getting in the headspace. And then sometimes I'll, like, depending on the day, you can go like do stuff.
If there's anything
Right,
close
yeah,
by
like if
or,
you're
yeah.
in like a fun city, you can go do whatever, but sometimes you save those for the days off. Kind of depends on where you're at. And then get your makeup on, usually takes like 45 minutes to an hour of hair and makeup, and then get over to the venue. You have to preset all your costumes, make sure your props are where you can find them, and kind of get everything. I like to kind of go through the show a little bit in my head, like steps that I know I always kind of get to, and I'm like, brain fart, like kind of like, okay, like let's walk through those. Make sure if you're going into like a different role that day, that you know like what you're supposed to be backing up, and you know the steps for that as well. I like to try to get some lifts in with a partner if we have lifts in the show, do those off ice before we get our skates on, kind of a thing. So just kind of taking the day for you to kind of
Set your mind.
ease into it.
Nice. Now, you can often have quick changes, right? So that's part of like setting up everything. Is there people who help you, or does that depend on different shows?
It depends on the show. Sometimes I like to try to get like all my costumes on as much as I can by myself. Even with like some of the big costumes, I'd try to like, I'd be like, no, don't help me. I can get the zipper. I can get it. I can reach it. And then other times there'll be like faster changes where sometimes there'll be wardrobe there to help you. And then a lot of times you ask your friends, you're like, I'll zip you up, you zip me up, you know?
Nice,
So
yeah.
sometimes there'll be like a train of everybody like zipping each other up.
Nice. It's
Yeah.
a little synchro thing
Yeah,
going
but
on.
that's what dress rehearsals are for. So you figure out what you need and then get it done.
Nice. Now, when you are done the show, I know, like, after a good skate or anything, is the adrenaline pumping? Does it take you a while to calm down and be like, okay, or do you just go straight back to your room and go to bed? Like, are you like, I'm wiped, I'm done?
Normally, like after the show, my like whole day schedule has kind of shifted into the night because of the shows, and I'm always hungry after a show. So like dinner is always after the shows, and sometimes that's like 10, 11. Sometimes it's not till
Right.
midnight. I end up getting something to eat, but usually I like to stay up a little bit and decompress. Take a shower for sure because you get real sweaty in the show.
I can imagine some
Right.
of those costumes.
Yeah, and a lot of people have kind of that same routine, so we'll hang out for dinner and watch a
Nice.
movie, kind of at the end of the day, and we get to sleep in a lot the next morning, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what about your goals for after, like, when you're 18, you decide you don't want to do show skating anymore?
I was hoping I would always be kind of involved in show skating or skating of some kind. I really like choreographing. I want to eventually do something with directing. I love like theater too, so like mixing the skating and the theater. I feel like I have a really good eye for setting shows up on a stage like that.
Right.
So I would want to go more down that path.
Nice. Now I know different companies, like different choreographers have created their own groups, and a lot of these tours are based off of someone saying, hey, I just wanted my own group. Is that something you're like, I might want to do that in the future?
I've definitely thought about it. Yeah, sometimes, there's got notes and notes in my phone of different songs and routine ideas and group ideas and tributes and whatnot, so we'll see.
All right, very cool. One last thing, for anyone who's wanting to get into different kinds of shows, what advice would you give them, and what would you say, like, the level of skating? I know for like a certain shows it's much higher, but there's kind of a baseline that you really need to be at a certain point. What kind of things would you say you kind of need these?
I would say a lot of shows really like you to be junior, senior level. If you want to look into any sort of principal role, you definitely, if you're a single skater, you want like a double axel, like really good spins, that kind of a thing. With pairs, it's just mostly an issue of finding a partner, if you do that. But if you have a partner, then usually it's pretty easy to get hired together. And then just like join the Facebook groups, talk to people that are in shows. A lot of things can be word of mouth, so like if you have coaches that are involved, like have them put in words for you. And I feel like my skating really improved when I stopped competing and started focusing on shows. So just working on those skating skills to just make your presence better on the ice then is really like the core of what you need.
I mean, we can't look at our feet while we're doing this.
Right, like you have to look up at the audience that's 100 feet above you and plus,
Now, some want you to sing along with the music, some say absolutely not. What kind of experience have you found with that?
It definitely depends on the company. Companies like Disney, you're definitely going to be lip syncing. Sometimes things depend on the musical rights.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it gets weird. A lot of shows you won't be lip syncing if it's like holiday shows and stuff like that. But if you're playing a character, then yeah. But so like lip syncing's an important skill to have, but it's not necessarily the be all end all for the performance.
It's mostly just that kind of projecting and
the
looking out into the
presence,
audience.
keeping your face up so the audience can see you, and keeping your shoulders down so that you don't around like that.
No turtle skating.
Right, no turtle skating.
Yeah.
Just like taking all those like basic skating skills that you really want to have and like elevating them to presenting for an entire arena.
Nice. Well, it has been so much fun catching up with you. Thank you. And I will definitely be stopping by to see you at your new show with the kids and everything.
So. I'm excited to see you. And have you come see it?
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.